Hello, this is N4LQ and the Old Friends Net on 160 meters. Good evening. Is there anybody that would like to check in?
Hello, Steve, WA4LLR.
Hello, Dave, and hello, Mir, on what appears to be sideband, I think, maybe. I understood your call, but mostly because I'm used to it. But anyway, check your mode switch there and see what it says. Anybody else want to check in? I saw a big carrier. Well, let's see. I'm on the repaired again Viking 1, and boy, that was fun working on that thing. I may have my audio turned up too far. Let me know, Dave, what you think. WA4LLR, and I guess then turn it to Mir. N4LQ.
N4R.
Oh, Brian.
Alrighty, recognizing Brian in there. N4LQ and the gathering group, WA4LLR. Audio sounds good to me, Steve. And good evening to you, Mir and Brian, if you can hear me. I'm hearing a little bit of the QRN from the storm down towards the Gulf, but everybody's coming through it okay. Running the Valiant 2, listening on the HX129X, courtesy of Brian. But good to be in with you today. Didn't make the early net this morning, Steve. My wife had a early doctor's appointment in Asheville, so we had to bail out early for that. And then I had a dermatology appointment after lunch in Asheville, so we spent the whole day over there. Getting frozen and sliced and all that fun stuff. And boy, was it chilly when we headed out this morning. It was 16 here at the house, and when we got down the foot of the hill, it was 14. So it was nippy. So, Mir, wonder how you're doing this evening. WF2U, WA4LLR.
Roger, WA4LLR. This is WF2U. Well, good evening, everybody. It's definitely static here. Of course, it's going to be raining later on tonight, and into at least half a day tomorrow. Well, it was chilly here today, also in the morning, about 6:30. We got up. It was 22 degrees, but then by 8 it was 40. But it didn't go up above it that much. I think it was 45 to tops today. Right now it's dropping again. I think it's 38 right now or so. Anyway, I'm still running the SGC SG2000 half AM. In other words, carrier with upper sideband. About 100, just maybe about 150 watts peak or so. It's rated to do that with about a 100, it's about 70 watts carrier, so probably double that from peak. Anyway, so that's the story. I haven't had time to look into the AL1200, see why it was crackling when I just turned the AC on it a couple of days ago. But I turned it off, and I don't want to turn it on until I see what's going on. The high voltage wasn't even on. I just heard some crackling noises from inside. Could be some mice were trying to nest in it or something, and the net kind of sparked through when I put the 240 volt AC in it. I don't know. But I definitely don't feel confident turning it on now. Let's give it back to Brian and then see how conditions are being maintained here by the storm. But anyway, the signals otherwise are pretty strong, so I have no problems with the volume, but or the signal strength, except just the noise is starting to increase. So KN4R, this is WFQ.
Yeah, okay, Mir. Very good. WF2U in the group. This is KN4R. Brian, Cheryl Ford. I'm on the modern rig tonight, 7610, and the ACOM and the NFED. I just switched the antennas a little while ago. I was setting up my GRC9 for tomorrow's radio net early tomorrow morning on 3885. We have to take our neighbors are going on a long cruise starting tomorrow, so we are on standby to take them to the airport around 8 o'clock or so. I think their flight's like at 11:20, so we'll get there about 9, and hopefully they'll have enough time. So anyway, signals are okay. Dave, I wonder if you've got any inclement weather up there yet. And okay on the dermatology and visits there at Stashville. You know, we have a lot to look forward to, don't we? So, and Steve, I apologize for you having to repair the Viking 1 again, since I was the one that sat there and turned the 160 in-out knob until the string came off the roller. So, what can I say? N4LQ in the group, KN4R.
Okay, this is N4LQ. Do we have anybody else that would like to check in tonight?
W4JPL.
Hello, John. Good evening. Glad you could join us, and why don't you take it and just turn it back to me.
Okay, excuse me. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. W4JPL Liberty. 33 very cold degrees, and we're supposed to get some sort of nonsense this evening, so I don't know if it's going to be ice or rain. It's right on the borderline, so glad I don't have to go nowhere. Other than that, another busy day working, doing things for the house, so I got about 3 or 4 more days in this nonsense, and I'll be done for a while. N4LQ, W4JPL.
WB4NKL.
Okay, very good, John. WB4NKL Cliff. Here's the list that I've got so far. N4LQ, LLR, F2U, KN4R, W4JPL, and WB4NKL. So go ahead, Cliff, and turn it back to me.
Okay, Steve, it's WB4NKL at the end of the list. Maybe you'll have some more check-in. I just come out to see if anybody was on and retune the antenna. And the band's pretty good, except I'm getting some static crashes from somewhere. I don't know where that's coming from. I guess some kind of a storm, that storm moving in. But it's 35 degrees here now, and looks like it's going to warm up overnight. So I think they're mostly calling for us to get rain on this side of the mountain. Different story over around Dave, I guess. So we'll send it on around. Go ahead, Steve. N4LQ's WB4NKL.
Anybody else that would like to check in, call now. We've got a pretty good crowd tonight. I guess Friday and rainy, nothing else to do. We're supposed to get 0.4 inches tonight and 0.4 inches in the morning, so almost an inch, and then skip a couple of days, and then Tuesday oh my goodness, 2.5, 3.5 inches more of rain. So I got out there and got my little diverting drainage ditch dug. So hopefully that'll keep it off the part of the yard where there's all these trees and route it directly into the creek. And I stood there and used my pickaxe and chopped dirt and rocks off the root ball that was sticking up in the air about 5 feet, trying to get it down to where after the rain maybe I can take the chainsaw and start sawing it up into a smaller piece and shove it over into the creek. Well, Brian, I really had a good time fixing this thing, and I kind of learned a few things about Johnson Vikings. I couldn't really understand why in the world they went to all that trouble and no doubt expense to put that complex mechanism with a string in there. And of course you saw that. And I found a relay which actually came out of a AF68 power supply. The relay was for the DC side that nobody ever uses, and I've taken several of those out, and the vibrators and so forth, and so I had that nice little 6-volt relay, and I just took a rectifier and a filter capacitor and rigged up a simple little filament power supply and used that for the switch on the front panel to control it, and actually was able to mount it in the hole that was already there on the brace. So it came out real neat looking. I prefer it. It's interesting, it defaults to being out. When I switch the switch to the out position, it actually activates the relay, and that's just due to how the relay was made. Anyway, I have a question for you great minds here, and I've got Lee's power supply here for his LMAC, and I'm going to update it with a filter choke, which I have done before, and that always gets rid of the hum, what's left of it, and I'm going to just use a choke input filter, but the space is very, very limited on these things, and to get a choke to fit on there, I've had to move the power transformer over and drill new holes and stuff, and I've got this weird idea, and see what you think about it, but there's 2 windings on the primary of the transformer on there that were used for the vibrator previously, and they aren't, of course, now. And I was just wondering, if I put those in series, have you ever heard of somebody using the windings on a transformer like that as a filter choke? I haven't measured it, so I don't know how many henries it has, but it's beefy, heavy wire. I'm not worried about it, the current rating on it. So just thinking about it. Anyway, comments are welcome. Mirror SGC 2000, I'm picking you up okay. You got me worried about your crackly AL 1200. I hope it's not thinking about doing itself in. But like you said, the high voltage was off, so that's a good sign, I guess. I can't imagine why it would be crackling. So over to you, Dave. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
All right, Steve. N4LQ and the group. WA4LLR. Well, good evening to John and to Cliff. Good to hear you guys. That's an interesting concept, Steve, about using those other windings for the choke. But I'm going to defer to others and say that's above my pay grade. Let Cliff and Mir and John speak to that. yesterday afternoon, I spent a good while trying to decipher what's ailing my old HRO 50. I mentioned some time back that it had decided to give up the ghost and wasn't receiving anything, but the audio amplifier is still working. Cliff had suggested to check the oscillator tube, which I did, and I went on to check the mixer, and I went on to check the IF amplifiers and check the RF amplifiers. In fact, I ended up checking every tube in it. Every tube in it checked good. So I said, I'll fire it back up again. Maybe I wiggled something that wasn't doing what it should be doing, and no joy. Well, I went around the back I was going to take the antenna loose. Well, lo and behold, it popped on and decided it was going to work for a few minutes. And I said, well, evidently there's a problem either with my connector on the back or something. Well, then it quit again. So I, like any good technician, I pumped it good. That didn't help. So I began to wonder if I had a pot that was giving me some problems. So I started twiddling the knobs on the front, and I flipped the noise limiter on, and it came to life. And when I turned the noise limiter off, it died again. And then when I turned the noise limiter back on, it worked. And I said, that's different. And then all of a sudden it quit again, and the magic noise limiter would not bring it back to life. So now all I have is an audio amplifier. So once again, I've run into something that's above my pay grade, and I'm just going to let it sit there and think about what it's done for a while. Anyway, the inclement weather has not arrived here yet. According to the radar predictions, 12:30, somewhere in that ballpark. Currently, we've got 30 degrees, and they're calling for a low of 28 for us tonight with about an inch of snow and ice expected. And then tomorrow, periods of freezing rain in the morning. Tomorrow night, rain and snow showers, and Sunday morning, snow showers. So that's what they're saying for us. So it'll be interesting to see what we actually get. Here it comes, Mir. WF2U, WA4LLR.
Yo. And the net is WF5. Well, from the last quarter of your transmission, Dave, the static went up so high that even with a noise blanker, it was just overriding your signal, and you have a pretty strong signal here. This transceiver doesn't really have an S meter, like the noise transceiver. It's just like a 0 to 100 scale, and you are, let's say you are about up to where an S9 plus like 10 to 20 dB or on a regular S meter, just about the same distance to the end. And the static crashes just climbed up to just the same level, and that's with the noise blanker. So it didn't help much. Only when the signal was when the noise was a little bit less than that. Anyway, enjoyed the luncheon. It was good to see everybody who made it there. After that, I went to Holmes on the way home, and I actually managed to find the housing, the Morse connector housing that fit the JRC marine transceiver. So I got the inserts also. Tomorrow I have to make the cable for it, and then I'll be able to put it on the air. And also the Toyota found a housing that fits so and the inserts also, so I got that whole thing again. Didn't cost really much. They have a big selection of all kinds of Molex housing styles and sizes and whatnot, so we found them, so I'm pretty happy about that. And today we were running around the XYL's phone, just giving up the ghost. Just randomly it drops out of the Verizon network. It works fine on Wi-Fi, but let's say it's connected to the cell site, and then all of a sudden it drops out, and it won't go back until I completely manually try to connect to in the cell phone settings to Verizon, and then it might connect or might not. And we did the soft resets. I was at the Verizon store several times, and they just said, all we can do is do like the soft reset like you do, and then it connects for about 10-15 minutes, and then it drops it. So they said, well, if that happens, it's time to change the phone, because I took it to a cell phone repair place, where they said it can't do anything about it. You better get another phone. So we have to get another phone for the XYL. But it's interesting because I'm on an insurance plan on it, and it's not paid off yet because it's only like 1 year to the contract. So if I wanted to exchange it to another phone, I would have to pay like $600 something to pay it off, and then I could trade it in. But I said, no, you can just claim an insurance claim that the phone is not working. That's $99 deductible, and that's it. It's like paid off, and then you can trade it in. So we put in the claim form. I knew that you could do that. I thought it's only when you lose a phone. But obviously it's not bad of a plan. So anyway, that's the story. So we were running around to a few places, and believe it or not, we had lunch at the Golden Corral today. I told Nancy, I said, I haven't been here for a long time. So anyway, back to you, Brian. Yeah, it's your turn. Brian, this is KN4R. This is WF2.
Okay, Mir. Very good. WF2U in the group. KN4R. Okay, Mir. Very good. Well, sorry that you're having the troubles with the XYL's phone, but sounds like you've got a plan in effect, so that's good. And I'm copying you okay. I'm not having too much static here. And Steve's 40 over, and Cliff's 30 over, and everybody else is about 20 over. So, good conditions overall. And okay, Dave, about the inclement weather approaching, but not there yet. Yeah, it's funny. We signed up to take the neighbors to the airport, and of course, we've had beautiful weather except for tomorrow morning when we're going to the airport. But that's the way it goes. So, they're going on a 4-month cruise, so it's a pretty good cruise. So, anyway, John, you're sounding okay. You sound better too. I hope you're feeling better. I'm pretty much over my crud now too. So. Things are looking up here, and Cliff, you're booming in here. So over to you, John. W4JPL in the group, KN4R.
Alrighty, KN4R in the group, W4JPL. Well, as far as the static's concerned, I don't have a lot of static here. I hear a little bit in the background. But on lightningmaps.org, there's a whole line of thunderstorms down in the Gulf of Mexico. Perhaps that's what those guys are picking up, because that's the only activity I see. And I understand Mir's running an SGC rig. I've always been interested in that SGC 2000, but never bought one. And I just happened to look them up online, and apparently SGC went out of business last May. And apparently somebody went over there to see if they could buy up any of the old stock, but there was nothing there, nobody home. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. So that's the end of that. And Cliff, I wonder if you might perhaps have a Terry report for us. WB4NKL in the group, W4JPL.
Yeah, W4JPL is WB4NKL. Brandon gave a report there about an hour or 2 hours ago, and he was been texting with him. And he's eating now. He's kind of weak, so he's going to be there a while, I guess, or till he gets over this weakness and get him built up enough to get out of the hospital. But he seems to be in pretty good spirits, Brandon said. And he said to tell everybody to stuff it, so he must be feeling better. Let's see, Steve, the LMAC deal, I don't think that'll work. You're going to have, from the transformer company, you're going to have about, if you series those leads, you're probably going to have about 24 volts AC induced from a transformer on them. Plus, there's probably only a couple turns per volt, so you're probably looking, as far as inductance, you're probably looking at something in the millihenry range instead of the Henry range. So I can't foresee that working with AC induced into it, unless you come up some kind of phase reduction. But I'm going to say it's going to give you more hum instead of less, be my opinion. Been working on the gates. I've started on the conversion process. Got the oscillator assembly out. I had a Collins PTO here that tunes from 1.6 to 2.2 megacycles, so that's going to work out fine for a VFO. And I hooked the oscillator assembly up here on the bench and fed that into it. And it was on 940, so I'm about doubling the frequency, so I decided to take half the turns off the oscillator tank coil, which I did, and it tunes perfectly on 160, so on to the driver stage, and then the final stage, hopefully I'll use that same deal, bypass about half the turns, ought to bring me up on 160, so it's getting closer. N4LQ, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, N4LQ. Is there anybody else like to check in with us tonight? Okay, nothing heard. Not even a discouraging word. Yeah, well, it took long enough to make that round that I already figured out I don't have enough inductance. So it doesn't matter anyway. I chopped all the leads loose and measured the whole thing all the way across, and I got 30 millihenries. So, but it was worth a try. And I was thinking about the hum induction from the rest of the transformer. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that up there, see if anybody shot it down. And they did, and that's good. That's what we're here for, to confuse each other. Yeah, I had a good conversation with KZ4B on the way back yesterday about balance, and it was entertaining. I'm sure Brian and Gary really enjoyed that. I decided I'd just argue with him, I guess, and we were going on about the W2DU Ballon versus the Granella Ballon, and I think the bottom line was he was talking about a 4-to-1 Ballon that's used on, the wireman. So these W2DU Ballons that had beads on this little thin coax, and they sold a 4-to-1 for off-center fed dipoles and stuff like that. And they tout it as being a current balun, which it sort of is, but different design than the one that uses the two wires wrapped around the toroid, or the binary winding, or whatever you want to call it. Binocular? No, what do they call that? Anyway, we just had a good time discussing all that. He's got quite a background in electrical engineering and stuff, so he sees things from a different point of view sometimes than electronic people do. Let's see. Well, you're definitely going to have a wet drive in the morning, Brian. I can't see any way around that. And that's not a really great time to be out on the road, so I guess you're going to have to allow for accidents, maybe sneak in on a back road or something. And okay, Mir, I caught most of what you said. I have trouble understanding that rig. The audio is just not, it's just me, you know. I mean, don't throw it away or anything, but I have to really concentrate to understand what you're saying, and I can't use synchronous AM because there's not enough carrier in relation to the audio, or something about it just makes it jump sync. So I had to go to straight AM mode and try to narrow down on one sideband, and still I could hear you okay. It's just not easy for me to articulate, I guess, what you're saying. But anyway, well, I'm getting, we got 80 watts out of this thing. It's not too bad. 80 watts, 104% modulation out of the old Viking one. And I got it all back together and hooked it up, and lo and behold, I had no audio. After all that carrying on, I thought, what could I have done that I don't have any modulation? And I ended up with the scope, and I found out that, see, I had to take most of the front panel loose to get the stupid drive mechanism out for that shaft. It had one of those nuts, and the way Johnson did the front panel, it's 2 layers, and so they got the chassis, and the front panel goes over it, and all the controls are double nutted. So you got a nut behind the front panel and one in front. Hey, so you can't take the controls out unless you loosen up the front panel enough to get a wrench back there. But this crazy thing's about a ½ an inch long, and I just about had to take the whole front panel off to get that out. Just incredible, some of the dumb things that manufacturers do. And I pulled out the 6AQ6 modulator driver tube. Well, that's so tight you can't hardly get your hand down in there. So I had to use a tube puller to fish that tube out to find out what was causing the problem, because I had a dead short on the grid coming out of the pot. And well, it turned out to be the pot, but it wasn't actually the pot. It was, they got a ground lug behind one of the end terminals there that got kind of pushed over and touched the center pin of the pot when I tightened it up, because I had to retighten everything. It got turned a little bit. After all that, I finally found that. Had to use a scope to figure that out. Oh, man, what a blast. Anyway, that's all behind me now. Wait for something else to happen. So, Dave, WA4LLR, N4LQ.
All righty. N4LQ and the group WA4LLR. Well, I'm still copying everybody pretty good, but static crashes are increasing, and the QSB, I've got some pretty significant QSB, but still pretty much 100% copy. Sound like you had a lot of fun with that Viking 1. I think you were looking for another 4D32 for it. Or did you find one? Maybe you did. I gave Jim I gave Jim one new old stock not too long ago, and he had already found one somewhere. I don't know if he's still got that one or not, or if he'd be willing to get rid of it, but you might check with him if you're still looking for another 4032. Let's see. After I got back from the dermatologist today, I jumped on the mule and decided to clean out all my water breaks in the driveway, and I did get that done just about dark. So hopefully I'm ready for the onslaught of the heavy rain about Tuesday. So we'll see how that develops. And let's see what else is going on. Not too much. We've got. I really need to do some antenna work, but I guess it's going to have to wait for some better weather. I'm still wanting to get up the end-fed halfway for 80 meters, and haven't got that done yet. I wonder if Cliff, if you ever got your end-fed 80 meter up. I've procrastinated too long with that particular project. I know, Steve, it's like my procrastination on the Babcock, but one of these days, Mira, I'll send it to you if you can hear me, buddy. WF2U, WA4LLR.
Yeah, 100% this time, Dave. W84LLR, WF2U, 100% coverage this time, although the static is annoying. And interestingly enough, for about a minute or so, it stopped completely, and then it started again. I looked at the detector application, the real time, and yeah, there are tons of thunderstorms in the Gulf of Mexico and around the Florida Panhandle. And further west, but pretty close to, I mean, right over the panhandle, some of them, and big clusters. So no wonder we hear all that stuff. And yeah, just let me just do something with Steve. I'm switching to lower side than with full carrier. See if there is any difference, because I think I saw that up in lower sideband there is a little bit less modulation. So maybe the ratio might be a little bit better now. So hold on 1 second.
You did something I couldn't really figure out what you were saying. What happens is the synchronous AM locks in on your carrier, but then you will hit an audio pitch or a tone that'll be actually stronger than the carrier, because the carrier drops down and then the sync tries to jump onto that. So it goes whoop like that just constantly. I don't have that problem on any other signal I've ever seen. Just that single sideband AM. And of course, when I switch to regular AM, I get the typical phase distortion from the selective fading. So I don't know. It's probably not too much you can do about that, Mir. It's just, more signal. I mean, more RF, I guess, would help. Over.
Yeah, okay, this is lower side, but now actually I don't see much difference right here.
I couldn't understand that. It just sounded kind of sidebandish like.
Almost sounds like he's off a little bit, Steve.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Alright, so that's what it is. Because it just looks like up with a little upward modulation. Close to something like 45 watts carrier, and when I speak it goes up. So that's the way it is. AME type transceivers that have the AM equivalent. They have a little bit different ratio. I assume I'm going to look in the manual or see if there is any adjustment, and then I'll probably put a scope on it and see if it's the right ratio. Anyway, so that's now I didn't want to use the 7300 barefoot, which is relay amp, because I only with 25 watts under the circumstances with this trashy static. I'm not going to be readable because probably I'm going to be under the static completely. So anyway, pick it up, Brian. KN4R, this is WFW.
Before you go, I figured it out. If I just use lower sideband, just plain old lower sideband, it doesn't try to lock on the carrier, and I can actually copy it pretty good now. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, very good. Well, I was going to say, this is KN4R. I was just going to say, I think that's the issue, just not enough carrier. And I think he's 500 cycles low, too, which might also be, not helping the situation any. But anyway, it's okay. It's an interesting rig. And I'm sorry to hear from John that they're out of business now. I hate to see any manufacturer go under, but anyway, yeah, very good. Cliff, congratulations on starting the conversion process on the gates, and yeah, that's great on the Collins PTO. That's terrific. And let's see what else. I'm just looking through my list here. I don't have much more. So here, I'll just go ahead and pass it on to John. W4JP on the group, KN4R.
KN4R in a group, W4JPL. Okay, fine business. Something's wrong here, Brian. We haven't been down to Southport in a while. I'm probably not going to be able to go down to Southport probably till May, if that. So I got a lot going on over here. Yeah, like I said, I've just been doing a lot of things at the house here and working my little behind off. So I haven't really done anything with radio. I got a toy I took apart downstairs. I'm trying to, it's got gears in it and something's slipping. I just got to figure out what. So that was just a welcome break from working on the house. WB4NKL, W4JPL.
W4JPL, WB4NKL. Well, the QRNs are picking up here. So wherever I'm getting it from, it's increasing. But I did copy everybody pretty decent. Mirror's a little light, but everybody else is coming through pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get this oscillator deck back in the gates. I've got to come up with a little filament supply for the Collins PTO. It's one side of it's grounded, and they've got a center tap ground on the gates transmitter side, so I can't get the 6 volts for that. So I've got to put in a little transformer in the circuit here somewhere to power the PTO. A lot of little things, but I'll eventually get there, I guess. Then I got to start working on the push-to-talk and the audio, and maybe in a couple of weeks I'll be ready to give it a smoke test on the air. Hopefully, if the other projects don't take priority in the meantime. I swore I would never do another SP600, but a friend of mine over at Kingsport, he talked me into it. He ordered the capacitor kit, 63.02 capacitors. So I told him that might be a long-term project. Go ahead, Steve. N4LQ, WB4NKL.
All right, we will now pause for a minute to see if anybody else would like to join in. This is N4LQ listening. Nothing heard. All right. Real good round. And I envy you for being able to work on that big transmitter, Cliff. I'd love to be able to do that if I just had the room, but I just don't. If I had another, maybe I need to order one of those container things like Brandon's getting, and put it out there in the driveway. You know, that'd go over really good. They would give me, I think he said it had a 9-foot ceiling in it, and it was like 40 feet long or something. That's a whopper. So I guess he plans on sort of finishing it to a certain degree inside. And also, Dave, on the antenna work, that's going to be interesting to see what that in-fed half-wave does. And I've got one here. I got some ideas over the past year I want to experiment with and see what happens. This one here, I have disconnected the DC ground from the transformer and put on a 25-foot counterpoise for 160. This is only for 160, and 25 feet is the minimum length. 0.05 wavelengths, I believe it is, and it's about 8 feet off the ground, going kind of back toward the backyard. Well, it really, for some reason, it made the SWR a lot better. I haven't been able to prove it radiates any better. I sort of doubt that it made much difference. I do have a choke, a very hefty choke on the coax, so it's not using the coax. It's strictly using that little piece of wire as the counterpoise. So the antenna is pretty well isolated from ground this way, but it's protected by the ground on the shack side of the choke. And I like it better as far as the way it loads up. So we'll see. It seemed to reduce the noise a little bit. Sometimes you can pick up noise right off the ground rod, which is really sometimes a little baffling. I got a call last night from KG4IUQ Mark, who's working on a TBS 50 that he picked up, and it came with some kind of power supply. Lo and behold, it actually works. He's got it transmitting pretty well, and he picked up a carbon mic somewhere on eBay, I think it was, and it's supposed to be new in box, and I guess it works. I'm not sure how you go about testing those except measuring the resistance, and they say different things like 200 ohms and whatever. I've got one here that's new in the box, and last night I got it out, cut the seal on it for the first time, measured it, and it measured about 900 ohms, I believe, real high. And it didn't do much. I hooked it to an ohm meter and tried talking into it, and it changed a little bit, but I didn't try amplifiers or anything on it. Well, that thing of his, he put it on the air last night, and I listened to him. We played around with it, and it sounds absolutely terrible. It's just, I told him he sounds like somebody calling for help from beneath the ocean or something, like the Titanic or something. It's just terrible. And I don't know what the TBS 50 with a carbon mic's supposed to sound like, but it's just got a driver transformer. The carbon mic goes into that, and then the secondary of that goes right to the grids of the 6L6s, which modulates the 807. Kind of a common scheme. Reminds me of the Latine that I've got here. But he had plenty of modulation, but it was just real narrow and not even what I would call tinny. It was just not right. So I told him, I said, well, just feed a regular mic into your guitar amplifier, and then come out of the recorder or tape recorder output, low-level output, and feed that into that Harvey, and I bet you it'll sound pretty good. So I think you might try that. And thanks for the tip on the deal with Jim. I haven't talked to Jim since, gosh, it's probably been a long time, a year maybe. Let's see. Go ahead, Dave. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
Okay. N4LQ, WA4LLR. Well, I guess it sounded like those old telephone conversations back years ago that they used to make recordings of, or maybe it sounded like back when some of those singers were singing through the megaphone or something in the early days of rock. But I remember Wayne, WA4FTY, he had that Harvey Wells, and he used it some on the net, and it sounded good. So I don't know what Wayne was using with it. I don't know if he was using a preamp and a crystal mic or something, or if he had a super carbon. I don't know. But I remember him using it, and I remember it sounded good. But I don't know. Well, I'm hats off to Mark for getting that thing going. That's good. Good deal. Hopefully he can get the audio straightened out. It'll be interesting to hear him using that guitar as for a preamp. But, and Cliff, I was hoping you'd fire that broadcast transmitter up on 940 and give our local hometown station a little competition. But I'm looking forward to hearing it on the air. Fellas, I think I'm gonna say 73 on this go round. I was looking at a lightning map, and it looked like the closest lightning was about Apalachicola, Florida, and a lot of it out over the Gulf. The system that's moving up through the southeast there I wasn't seeing lightning in it after it came ashore, but we'll see. Anyhow, I've enjoyed it. 7-3, God bless, and Lord willing, we will catch up with you either tomorrow night or Sunday afternoon or something. So WF2U, WA4LLR. You guys have a great evening.
Okay, Mir, are you still there?
Yes. This is WFCU. I'm sorry, Dave. The last part of the transmission was completely wiped out by static. You started out strong, then you started to fade a little bit, and then you just went under the noise level. Have a good night. Take care. Let's report that you were here tonight, and we'll just see you at the luncheon, and we'll see you, I guess, Sunday on the old Transnet. So I don't want to hold it too long because it's under the conditions. Probably everybody has a little bit of a problem copying me, even if I'm 100%, but it's not fun under the circumstances. And hopefully by the weekend, on the old Transnet, I have a relay. I'll put a relay AM radio on, but right now I didn't have anything else that was tuned up. I actually could use the 500 watt Harris system, but it's already tuned up for tomorrow's MMRC GNet, and I don't want to start retuning it back and forth. Anyway, so 73 days, and pick it up, Brian. KN4R and the group WF2U.
Okay, Mir, very good. WF2U in the group. KN4R. All right, very good, Mir. Well, I copied you okay, and static's not too bad here, so, but I guess it's coming. And Cliff, I didn't know you were such a soft touch to take on an SP600 and 63 caps. That sounds like a nice thing to do for another friend. So congratulations there, and best of luck on the gates. Can't wait to hear it. I need to get to work on a transmitter or two here. So 73s, Dave. I'm going to say 73s as well. Everybody have a nice one, and don't forget the old military radio net tomorrow morning if you happen to not be able to sleep. 3885 from 5 to 7. 73s to all, and everybody take care. W4JP on the group, KN4R.
Alrighty, KN4R and the diminishing group W4JPR. Fine business, Brian. I'm going to say 73 myself. I'm really, really tired. I've been working my little tail off. And hopefully I can catch you guys tomorrow or tomorrow night. We'll see what kind of weather we get. We're supposed to maybe get some ice overnight, but we shall see. 73, God bless and carry on. WB4NKL, W4JPL. Thanks for the report on Terry Clint.
Okay, John, W4JPL, it's WB4NKL. That's, I think he's looking like he's improving, so hopefully he'll be back with us on the air before long. Dave, if you're still around, I don't have my end fed half wave up either. I've got the transformers laying over here, but I never did get around to actually trying it, putting it on an antenna. So I guess I'll put that off till spring anyway. And let's see, I think Brandon Shed's going to be for storage, Steve. He's planning on lining it with shelves, and I guess that'll free up some room in his ham shack when he gets storage in the, he's got a big metal building like I've got, but I think it's full. So this is overflow from that. And let's see, the TSB50 Harvey Wells, I picked up one of them. I haven't tried it yet, but mine is the deluxe. It's got the microphone preamp in it. So I don't know how much trouble that would be. Add a tube socket and go with a mic preamp. It would probably help him out on the audio. Some of those carbon mics, it might just been the one he got a hold of. They just didn't sound too good. I think about the best one is the one that, from what I've heard, is the one that they used in the old desk telephones. I've heard a lot of hams using that carbon button out of those on the ham bands, and I think they sounded pretty decent. But that'd be probably hard to find now. But if you could find an old 50s, 60s telephone, rob the transmitting element out of it, would probably be about as good as anything. Getting close to 9, so I'll say 73s too, and had some sideband activity spilling over on us from up the band just a little bit, so making it a little more difficult to copy. So 73s, try to catch everybody somewhere over the weekend. N4LQ, WB4NKL.
Well, I'm just sitting here enjoying chopping parts out of this thing. Got a pretty good pile of capacitors. I got those weird kind of oval shape, almost flat capacitors. They're not round, and they're not tubular, they're squished. I don't know where they got those. I haven't seen those in anything else but LMAC power supplies. Also, they got those braided type leads coming out of them, which is kind of cool. I guess they're low impedance. Yeah, the TBS50A alpha is the one with the preamp, and it's got 2 stages of preamp and a inverter tube with no transformer. So it's quite a bit of difference. Would have been nice to have had, I guess. So I think just a single stage preamp might do the job. I don't know, but that's not going to be too easy to do, and I'm not sure what the solution is. He did tell me he had a telephone. He may rob the mouthpiece out of the one in the kitchen, and just as long as he notifies the rest of the party is in the house, I can see the wife coming after him. I can't talk to the phone. I could hear people, and nobody can hear me. That would go over good, wouldn't it? And okay on the shelves and the stuff for the overflow. Man, that's quite a project. Okay, I guess we'll let you go and get ready for the rain tonight. And I looked at the lightning map, and boy, oh boy, down there in the Gulf, it is a huge mess. And that's going to take a while to get up here. I guess it'll be here Monday or something. 73s, everybody. This is N4LQ. Good night.